Hello and welcome everyone to today's workshop on analyzing data at web scale in object storage with MySQL HeatWave Lakehouse. Thank you for joining us. My name is Tara Van Cleef and I'm Marketing Event Manager for the Developer Initiative here at Oracle. Today we're excited to show you how to process and query hundreds of terabytes of multi-formatted data files in object storage with MySQL HeatWave Lakehouse. We'll also be recording the session, so if you'd like to watch the workshop now and revisit to complete the lab later on at your own pace, you'll receive the recording via the same email that you registered with for today. If you have any questions during the workshop, please drop them in the Zoom chat and Q&A areas, and we'll be ready to help answer them. We've also set up a channel in our developer public Slack called Workshop HeatWave Lakehouse that you can access at the QR code here or at bit.ly/odevrel_Slack. We'll leave the channel open after the event to contact us directly with any questions and to share resources with you. So here is the link to the lab guide that we will be following today, and I will leave this up for a moment so everyone can grab the link. Today's workshop will be presented by Percy Foster, Principal MySQL Solutions Engineer, Runit Malik, Cloud Solutions Engineer, and Catherine Shrimsher, Principal MySQL Solutions Engineer. So without further ado, I'll hand it off to Percy.
All right. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. First of all, I want to thank you for taking time out today to spend the next 90 minutes with us. I hope that when you walk away, you would have learned something and you are ready to start exploring MySQL HeatWave. And by the way, they've already introduced everyone. So let's go ahead and look at our agenda for today. So next screen. Okay. Here it is. So for today, I'll just give you a brief overview of MySQL HeatWave. I don't know if any of you are planning to do the workshop along with us. If you have, please have your tenancy ready. And if not, don't worry. Take your time. Just listen to us. This is recorded. So you can do it on your own time and just watch us as you do it on your own time. So that's why I'm going to just do a quick overview. After we do the overview, I am going to go ahead and talk to you about a proof of concept that we are going to build together today. And the way we're going to do this is I'll just give you an overview of it, and then I'm going to walk you through the required labs, the ones that you need to do in order to do this proof of concept. And then if we have time left over, Runit is going to go ahead and walk you through creating lab 1, lab 2, or whatever we have time to go over. Now, if you have any questions or whatever, go ahead and, like Tara said, do it in Q&A because Catherine is there. She will be answering your questions. Now, also, I'm going to go fast. And guess what? If you feel lost, there's nothing wrong. You're supposed to be lost because this is a hard workshop. It's at intermediate level, but if you pay attention to what I'm saying and you watch me and you go and try to do it on your own, I'm sure you'll be successful. So let's go ahead and continue. Okay, we always start with this slide. This is where we get to brag about MySQL. MySQL has been around for a long time. Developers love it. And DBAs, everyone, business analysts, they just like MySQL because MySQL works. MySQL is dependable and it is powerful. Big companies use MySQL. We're talking Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. All of these big guys, they use MySQL. In fact, I work with solution engineers that work with these companies that work with MySQL. And they trust MySQL. So this is one main reason. If you are not using MySQL, try it out. Even if you're doing a little program or you're doing a really big enterprise SQL application, you can move from AWS or wherever. Come try MySQL. You won't be disappointed. On that note, I want to tell you, there's a lot of cloud MySQL versions all over the place. However, there's one main MySQL database that is written by, cloud version that is written by the developers of MySQL, the supporters of MySQL, and it's on the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. The difference between this MySQL service in the cloud is, for example, if you're using AWS RDS and you're doing OLTP, MySQL was written to do OLTP. So it flies, it does a wonderful job. However, if you're doing reports, if you're a developer, DBA, I've been in those shoes, reports can really destroy your life. You have to do so much to get it just to get the results. It's a lot of work because it's doing a lot of analytics. It's working with a lot of data. So what a lot of people have been doing is moving it to Redshift. Redshift is an analytics database. So they have a database with MySQL, online transaction processing, and then they have OLAP. Wow. Now they're paying for two databases and they have to create an ETL, which is extract, translate, and load. And then they have to move, that data have to go to another place. Might have some problem with data traveling from one network to another, security. And then you're paying for two databases. But that's not all. By the time your data gets to that OLAP database, it's out of sync. Because you know what? Jack from the bank, he deposited $1,000 less yesterday. And today at 10 o'clock, right after the OLAP was updated at 4 o'clock in the morning, guess what? He took $100 out. So now your data is out of sync. So that's why we created MySQL HeatWave. MySQL HeatWave, everything is in just one database. Your OLTP, your OLAP, and the reason we do that is because we have a query accelerator called MySQL HeatWave Cluster, which I'll show you later on. But this cluster does machine learning, and guess what? It also handles all the data you have sitting around doing nothing. Listen, we collect data for everything. You're walking down the street, your IoT sensor collects data. You can put it in your machine, or you have all kinds of data, like you're using third-party software and they send you a CSV or Parquet file. All these things happen. And guess what? You've collected all of this data because you might need it one day. But the thing is, it's expensive to move it to a database because you're not too sure what to do with it. And guess what? This is happening to 99.5% of collected data. What if these data had information that could help you take better care of your customer? Well, that's what we're going to do today. We've also created HeatWave Lakehouse. And HeatWave Lakehouse is going to make it possible for you to look at your data in an object storage, which is very cheap to keep, and also tie it together with your database so you can do queries between the database and the Lakehouse tables and get some information that you can use to improve your product and make your customer a lot happier. Now, what makes MySQL HeatWave work so well? Here's the thing. It's our secret sauce, MySQL Autopilot. MySQL Autopilot is a tool or service, whatever we call it. It uses machine learning. And in the background, it does everything to make sure HeatWave performs extremely well. You have great throughput, and then you can do your machine learning, and you can do your Lakehouse creation. Like, for example, when we're going to create our Lakehouse tables, Autopilot is going to help us. You don't have to do much. You just tell Autopilot, hey, I have this data. I want to move it to the cluster, and I want it to read it from the bucket. And it will do it, and I'll show you. And then another thing, as developers, a lot of developers, we like to create our Python, PHP, Java applications. However, let's say we get new people here and we have your business analysts and they need programs too. And sometimes these programs, yes, you have time to do it, but, if you could only offload it to them and they can just do, local development, like drag and drop. You just set it up for them and let them go to town. Well, guess what? If you use MySQL HeatWave on the Oracle Cloud, you can do Apex with MySQL. And I hope I get a chance to show you. Anyway, I think I'm done telling you so much about MySQL. Let's just quickly talk about our proof of concept. Here's the thing. We have this fictitious company called Eureka, and they have an e-commerce program. Their e-commerce program, like I said, it's on-premise. In other words, it's in their data center. They have a MySQL server. Everything is in their data center. Now, when they run, the program runs pretty fast, okay, but reporting, things are not looking good. And then they also want to be able to give the business people, their analysts and Sally from payroll, she wants to do stuff. They want to give her tools so she can do her charts and so on. But they don't have it. They don't have that available right now. And also they want to do stuff that will wow their customer, at least one thing. So what we've agreed is to create a proof of concept for them. We're going to take their data and move it to the Oracle Cloud. And, fast reporting, it can be done. I'll just show you a quick example. And they'll be able to do analytics through MySQL shell or through their computers, through their services that's in the Oracle Cloud. And then we're going to also be able to show you how they can use Apex to also give Sally in payroll something to work with her payroll reports and things like that. So here's what's going to happen. We have the MySQL. This is their on-premise. We're going to take their data. We're not going to go through this because I'm going to already take that data and put it in the object storage. I'm going to also take the application and put it in object storage. And then we're going to create the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure System, the whole framework. It's a development framework. We're going to create the database and the application server. And that's it. And then we'll go from there. So let's go ahead and get started, okay? Let me see. First thing I'm going to do. Oh, one more thing I want to say before I go any further. If you want to know more about, do a real deep dive on MySQL HeatWave, Edward Scriven, our Chief Corporate Architect, did a wonderful presentation on everything about MySQL HeatWave. So just click on this link when you get here. In fact, I'll go ahead and put it in the chat for you. Let's go ahead and do our presentation. Let me close this. Here. All right. Here. Just relax. I'm going to take you through the whole process, and then we're going to try it on a little bit by yourself. Here, you have the link. We have this thing called live lab workshops. They are the best thing since sliced bread. Anything you want to know about the Oracle system, cloud or on-premise, we have a lab to teach you how to do it. And today we're using this one. This one is called Analyze Data at Web Scale, and we customize it especially for you, the developers. So thing is, here's what we're going to do. We have a couple of steps. First, we're going to create the database. After we create the database, the whole environment, network, everything, the whole data center in the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. After that, we are going to create our LAMP server. In other words, our Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP, or Python. Today, though, we're going to just focus on PHP. Next time we meet, we could do Python. And then after we do that, we're going to go ahead and add the cluster. Remember, that's the one we're focusing on. We're going to add the cluster. And when we add the cluster, we're going to show you, hey, this is how HeatWave works without the cluster. And this is how HeatWave works with the cluster. You be the judge. Let's see how fast it is. And then we're going to focus on moving our files that's just sitting there doing nothing. I think we're going to move 2 of them, a CSV file and a Pocket file. After we move the files, we're going to go ahead and analyze those 2 files. We're going to take them. Now, there are 2 new Lakehouse tables. We're going to take those 2 tables, and we're going to join them with tables that are already in the database. And then we're going to do some research, saying, wait a minute, let's see what kind of information is being given to us. And based on the information it gives to us, we're going to update the program. And whatever it is that we're doing to update this application, we think it'll make our customer, in other words, we think it'll make the Eureka customers a lot happy. That's it. Let's go ahead and get started. Let me see. I'm going to go ahead. First of all, I'm not going to show my screen here. I'm just going to focus on giving you guys the whole tour while I do my work. And I want you guys to be able to see everything. So first of all, the first thing I am going to do is I'm going to go to Lab 1. In Lab 1, what we're going to do is we're going to create the compartment, the virtual cloud network, and the HeatWave database. That's what we're going to do. Once we do that, then we're going to go to the next step. Let's just focus on that. To create the compartment, what you do is you go here, from here, you go to Identity and Security, and there, right there is compartment. And I already created my compartment, but let me quickly show you what I did. And if you look, I am on task 1. First, I copy the name of the compartment, and then I add the description. Once that's done, I hit create compartment, and it's done. I already have my compartment. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to go to task 2. Task 2 is we're going to create the virtual cloud network, which is our wiring. To do that, we are going to go to menu, networking, and then virtual cloud network. Since we're not experts in virtual cloud networks, we're going to use the wizard. And to do that, we click on the wizard. We say start VCN wizard. And when you do that, make sure you're using the right compartment. Right now, it's Lakehouse. Every time you're doing something, make sure it's in the right compartment, because it makes life a lot easier when you have everything in the same compartment so they can work together. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and create right now I'm on number 4 of task 2. So I put in the name and then I click next. And what it does is it creates everything for you. It does everything for you. So all you have to do is click create and it will be there. But like I said, I have it already. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to task 2. Task 2. And in task 2, we're going to go ahead and we're going to make some changes. What we're going to do is, remember, I want to tell you this. When we create our database, we are very careful and we're very big on security. So what we do is we hide our database in a private subnet, which is right here. Now, in order for anyone to talk to MySQL, though, we need to open some ports so that, the application server can talk to it, or if you're going to Workbench and they're all using SSH, they can talk to it. And so what you do is you add the ingress rule. First thing you do is, because this is a development server, we're saying any IP can do it. But if it was production, you'd have to be very specific. And then after that, we go ahead and say, okay, I am opening the port for 3306 and 33060. That's it, no more. And then you say, all right, just give it a description in case someone is looking and they'll know what you're trying to do. I did it already. And here, this is what it looks like. You'll have 2 new entries, 3306 for MySQL and 33060 for MySQL shell. That's another client that uses MySQL, okay? Now, you have to do the same thing again, because guess what? We're going to use Apache. Apache is the web server he needs to have a port open too, so that HTTP and HTTPS can talk to each other. And we can talk to our server. Let's go ahead. This is now we're doing security list test number 4. I need to fix this. It should be 3. Okay. So now let's go ahead and add ingress rule again. And then now the ports that we're talking about is 80 and 443. I think 80 is HTTP and 443 is HTTPS. And you put your description. Again, you say add ingress rule. I did it already. So you have 2 new entries, 80 and 443. Good. Now that means your apartment, your room is done, and the wiring for your services or for your components are ready. Now you're ready to build your system. The first thing you're going to do is create your database. So you go to menu, you go to database, and you go to DB system. Now we are doing test 5 of lab 1. Okay. So test 5, if you look, you say, hey, you're going to create your database. Let me talk you through the process. First of all, you say create database. Make sure, first of all, we're not doing production. Remember, this is a proof of concept. So everything is in development. And make sure your compartment is in Lakehouse. Then we're going to go ahead and put the name of the database and give it a description. After you do that, it's a development server, so we're not interested in doing high availability. Not today, maybe next week when you're more comfortable and your stuff works. Okay? And another thing, we're planning to use HeatWave. So you click on this button and say, when you create my database, make sure you create it so that I can use MySQL HeatWave. If you don't do that, you will not be able to use the cluster. And after that, you put your username. I usually put admin, and then you put a password that you will remember. In fact, write it down somewhere, because if you forget your password, guess what? You have to start all over again. You have to recreate the database. So don't do that. Here, and it's going to make sure you remember. Okay, they both match. After that, just double check. Yes, we are using the HeatWave VCN that we created earlier, and we are pointing it to, when you create it, put it in the private, hide it away in the private subnet. And we're going to use AD1, availability domain 1. We're not going into that. You can find out when you do your deep dive. And then here we like the shape. In other words, this is what we're going to use. We're going to create a HeatWave shape that's using a VM. It's going to have 16 CPU, 512 gig, and it's going, the bandwidth is going to be 16. Okay. 1024, that's about 1024 gigabytes. And once we do that, fine, we like it. This is a development server. Right now, we're not interested in creating a backup plan. We're not going to do backup. Now, listen to me. Pay attention to this piece. Let me see. I'm going to tell you which number it is. It's very important. This is number 13. What you're going to do is you're going to click hide advanced options, and you're going to click connections, because what you are doing is you are going to give your database a host name. With a host name, it makes it so much easier to use your database throughout OCI. So always remember to give it a host name. And what I normally do is I use the name of the database. And then guess what? It'll take care of it, and I'll show you how it generates an amazing host name for you. And that's it. However, remember I told you that I took Eureka's data from their data center, their on-premise data center, and I put it in a bucket. Well, you know what? While I'm building the database, I'm going to say, I don't want to do 2 more steps. I'm going to go ahead, and while this database is being created, I'm going to go ahead and load it. And you know, the instructions for doing this is number 16, and you'll see North America. I'm using US East Ashburn. That's my region. So I'm going to go ahead, click on it, and I'm going to get that pre-authenticated link, and I'm going to put it here. And it points to the database. I mean, it points to the bucket where I have the database from Eureka all set, ready for me to use. So I'm going to go ahead, everything is okay, I'm happy. So I'm going to, no, I didn't want to create, but yeah, it won't do because I already have it. So no creating. Now I already have my database and it's created. I'm happy. So let's go ahead and do the next step, which is to create your bastion. So a bastion is it's a server, it's a VM server, a compute instance that allows you to act. So what you would do is you'd go through that VM instance through SSH. And once you're there, you can access all of the other components inside OCI. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to create that. It's going to be that bastion is also going to be our application server. So let's go ahead and click on compute. We're going to click instances. And from there, I've already created one, but let me show you how it's done. So now we are on lab 2, and we're going to go to task 1. To task 1, first thing you're going to do is because, there are so many different people here. There are people using Linux, Mac, and Windows. I don't have time to go through all the processes on how to make each of them work. So we're going to do the best thing. Oracle Cloud Infrastructure has created a little VM. Well, it's not little, it's pretty powerful. That will allow you to pretend that you're on your local machine so you can access everything you need. But the first thing you have to do is you have to create your SSH key. First of all, you click on Cloud Shell. And it takes like a few seconds, and it's gonna come up, and we're gonna click on it. And what we're gonna do is you follow the instruction. You're gonna say SSH key. You're gonna just say, hey, create an SSH key for me. And then you hit enter, and you hit all these other things. I already have my SSH key, so I'm not gonna say that. And then once you've done creating your SSH key, what you want to do is you want to say, let's see my folder, because what it does is it create your SSH key in a .ssh folder. When you see that folder, you want to see what's in it. I have one extra file that you probably won't have. That's because I've been using it all day. All right. So now I have my key. Everything is okay. One thing you need to do, you have to change the permission. So you do a chmod SSH 600 for your pub, and you do the same for your RSA. Once you're done, then the next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna open a notebook, and you're gonna save the information that you will need to do all your work with that compute instance here. I have my notepad open. Let me show you what it looks like. If I can just drag it in over there. Okay, hold on. Here it is. It's empty right now. So now what I'm gonna do with it is I'm gonna go ahead and run this statement. And what this statement does is it lists my public key. And what I want to do, I'm going to need it pretty soon. You could leave it here, or you could just put it in your notepad. I do it 2 ways. So then I have it, and now I'm ready to create my compute instance. And let me quickly review. What you do is you go to your main, you go to instances, and you go to create. Once you have your compute instance, now we are in task 3. What you do is you give it a name. the name that I'm going to give it. You make sure that you are in compartment Lakehouse. Once you do that, you leave this alone. 82 is fine. You could put it in 81, but I'm not going to spend time doing this today. And then what I want you to do is to change your shape. You get this free shape, but I have tested this process for a different shape. So let's make sure we use the shape that I use to make sure everything works. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say, yes, I want to use my Intel. It's going to say I don't have any because I've been using here. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on specialty and previous generation, and you're going to click VM standard E2.1. You're going to click on it and you're going to select it. When you select it, now remember, we're using Oracle Linux 8 for PHP. That's what I use. When I'm using Python, I use Ubuntu. But here it is. I have it. Now, everything is set up. It knows where my network is. And I'm going to use the public subnet because remember, that's the one, that's the public compute instance you have, so you can go through it to access the database. And then here, this is why we needed that public key. What we're going to do is we have a key. We want to paste it. I'm going to show you a shortcut. What I do is I click on restore here, which brings me to my OCI Cloud Shell. And I just go ahead and I copy it. Control C, and I minimize it. And I paste it. Good? That's it. And then all you have to do is hit create, and you're done. It takes about less than a minute for it to become ready. Here's mine. It's already ready. Once it's ready, again, you take your notepad. And what you want to do is you want to save the client. And the name, and you also want to save the IP address. Okay? Once you do that, what's going to happen is because you're going to be using it a lot, so save it somewhere so you don't have to keep looking for it. So this is what we're going to do. Now, according to this workshop, here's what we have to do. Once we've created it, I've already done this. So now I'm on test 4. And on test 4, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to SSH. In other words, I'm going to try to go into my HeatWave client compute instance. And you need this command. Here, let me bring out in order to do it. So you would take it. Here, your SSH is IDRSA and OPC. And what you're going to do is you're going to take this IP address and put it here. This is how you connect to your SSH. So now again, we're going to go back to the OCI console. You're going to paste it here. We're in. Yep. So we're inside. Once we are in, the thing is, we're going to go ahead and do some other work. We've logged in. After we logged in, we need to be able to talk to MySQL. So we need to create a client to talk to the MySQL database. And what we do is the client that we're going to use is MySQL shell. I'm going to paste it here. In your case, you hit enter. I don't need to hit enter because I've already created it. So I'm just going to hit Control C. And then now I've created, this is the MySQL of the lib piece. The next thing we're going to do is put in the Apache, which is the web server. And to do that, just going to say yum install Apache. There. I've done it already. I've done all of the instructions that's needed. Let me show you what they are. I've installed it, and then I've enabled it, and then I have taken care of port 80, the firewall. Remember, I opened those ports. Now I'm connecting them together. And then the first thing I want to do is I want to test to make sure that it works. And guess what? You need your little notepad again. All you have to do is enter the IP address of your compute instance, in other words, your server, and you hit enter. There, you see, Apache is doing well. We're happy. Now, let's do the next step then. I'm going to install PHP. To install PHP, you have to do this. And then hit enter. I'm not going to do it because I did it already, but you have to do it. You have to do these. You have to install PHP and all the libraries that PHP need, and you double check, and you want to know what version of PHP is available, and then you restart PHP. Here's what I did. I did make sure that my libraries are there. Yeah. And my version has to be 7 or higher. Sometimes, I don't know how they do it. Sometimes people install the wrong version of PHP, and we spend a lot of time trying to figure out what the problem is. Okay, so once you've done that, you restart your PHP. And one of the things you also have to do is make sure you set up the right network connection so that when PHP can talk to your MySQL, which is what you would do here. Anyway, let's go ahead and do a test of the PHP installation that we have done. And the way to do it is you would just do this. Sudo nano, and you're going to create an info.php file. I think I've done this already. I did it already, so it's there. You guys, once you do that, you just exit. When you do nano in OCI console, don't do Control-O, do Control-X. And it'll ask your question if you made any changes, and you say why. Here, now let's go ahead and see what this thing does, this info.php. Here it is. It tells you everything PHP is doing in your system. It tells you about all their libraries, what's over there. Look, MySQL is one of them, is one of the libraries I'm going to be using. It's there. So in other words, it's telling you PHP is all set up to do whatever you need to do with it. Okay, this is good. Now let's go ahead and do the next part, which is we've done this. So now we've finished this whole lab. Next thing we're going to do, we've created our database. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at our database and make sure that we can set up our HeatWave cluster. So what you do is you come in here, you connect to the database. Let me show you how you connect to the database. You make sure you're in the compute instance, which I already am in already. And then you're going to use this statement, which is very important. I'm going to put it here. Let me show you again inside I'm going to pull up my notepad and here. And it's telling me I need my password, my username, and I need the IP address of my database. It's very easy. Don't panic. You just go here to get your IP address. You come in here, you click on database, go DB systems. Here, we're going to use this database. And no, we're going to use another database. I want to use this database because I want to do stuff with you guys. Okay, so we're going to use this database. And to get the IP address, you click on connections. You click here, private IP. You go to your notepad and you put it in here. And put your database name here too. There. So I have my HeatWave demo, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this IP and I'm going to replace all these dot and numbers. And here I have my command. So now I'm ready to go ahead and access my SQL shell. Okay. Put your password. I'm in. Perfect. See, I remembered my password. I hope the same thing happens to you too. Remember your password. Okay, now that I have my password, I've done it all. Now, the thing is, I want to know what's inside my database, okay? And when I look inside my database, remember, I loaded the schema or the database from the on-premise. So when I do my show database, I should be able to see it if everything went. Okay. Yes, this is the database that Eureka is using for their e-commerce system. There it is. Good. So now that we have it, what we're going to do is we're going to skip number 4 because we already have our data. So we're going to skip number 4. And what we are going to do is we are going to go ahead and look at number 5. What number 5, first of all, we are in SQL. We're going to click on number 5. What number 5 is going to do is going to tell us all of the tables that are loaded inside my MySQL customers database. This is fine. We're good. Next thing we're going to do now, we know we have our data. Everything is okay. So let's go ahead and set up our cluster. By the way, I already did set up my cluster because the cluster takes about 12 minutes to load, but let me show you how it's done. You have many ways. You can click from here and say, in your case, since yours doesn't exist already, you would say create. Me, I'm saying edit. And here I have it. We don't have time to go through the process of estimating the node. Look at the document. It tells you more. But for now, let's just go ahead. Once you have it, make sure you have 2 nodes on. And make sure also one thing it's going to do is going to say HeatWave. And I'm going to show you. So once you would click on it, and then you would click Save Changes. Now, here's what your HeatWave cluster looks like once it's done. You have 2 nodes, 1 terabyte of memory, and Lakehouse has to be enabled. If Lakehouse is not enabled, you're not going to be able to read your data from the bucket. There, you've got it. All right, let's do the next step. We've taken care of this lab. Let's go ahead and do the next lab, which is lab 4. First, let me have some water. Okay, lab 4. What lab 4 does is we are going, this one is a little bit tricky. Just pay attention to me and you won't be that confused. Here's what you have to do. You're going to go back. You're going to look here in task 1. You're going to go ahead and download some file into your compute instance. First of all, what you just hit quit. Yeah, I've already downloaded my Lakehouse database, but I'm going to show you what you have to do. Let me open. Okay, so first of all, you create a folder called Lakehouse, which I did. Then you go into it. Once you go into it, you will copy this statement and let it run. And when it runs, it's going to generate this file for you. And once you have this file, what you do is you come in here and you unzip it. Once you unzip it, you'll have these files that I'm looking at right now. Inside data file, you're going to unzip it, and inside data files, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 files. Now, those 4 files, you're going to use them. This is what we did. We're showing you how to create a proof of concept. Like all developers, I know it is very hard to find data. So what we've done is we've provided the data for you. And that's why you had to go grab it, unzip it, and now you're going to go ahead and create your own bucket. And to do that, let's go ahead. The first thing we're going to do is click on here, you go to storage, you go to buckets. Again, yes, I've done it already. First thing you're going to do is you're going to create a bucket and give it a name. And in this case, Lakehouse Files. Once you give it the name, you hit create. Once it's ready, after you've done that, the first thing you're going to do is, let's go back to the workshop. We've created our bucket. And the thing is, now we need to know where the bucket is so that we can load the information. And to find out where the bucket is, we have to create something called a pre-authenticated request link. So I'm going to go in here. It's really easy to do. You just go to your, hold on. You don't have to do anything. Just leave your bucket just where it is. You click on the three little dots. You click create pre-authenticated link request. And here it is. Once you do, you just click on it. That's it. And what you want to say is when you click on it, you want to say, I'm going to use this link and I'm going to write to it. So permit object write. So now you have a link that will allow you to take data from wherever you are and put it in the bucket. I did it already, so we don't have to worry about it. Once you do that, let's take a look at the lab. And what the lab tells you to do after you copy your link, you're going to be adding your files, which is very easy. Again, you go to the folder. Now you're going to use this command, curl put, and I guess that's put, remember, write, and it's going to say, write this data. Now watch this. First of all, what you have to do is go back to your bucket, to your notepad. And let me show you how I do it. I make it really easy on myself. I go here. First, I do my curl, and I just go up there. And remember how I did my storage? Yeah, I forgot to save it. So I'm going to grab it and then create. Copy this. This is very important. And if you don't copy it, you don't get it for a second time. You lose it. You have to create a new one. So you copy it, close, you go back to your notepad, and you put it here because you're going to be using it. First of all, for the first one, what you have to do is take this information right here. And it's a little bit tricky, but after you do it 1 or 2 times, it's not that hard. There. So now you're telling it, hey, I want you to take my data from my machine and put it in this bucket. And then you grab it and you run it from here. And then when it's done running, this is what you would see. And you do the first one. It will create a folder for you called order. And then it's gonna do the first one for you. And then you have to do the same thing again for your second one. So you go here, number 3, you have to do it. And then you have to do it for the third one. For the fourth one, you have to be very careful. You don't want to put that in the folder, the orders folder. It's a separate file. It's a pocket file. You don't want them mixed together. So what you do is you leave the word order out when you're creating your file for the pocket file. And so when you're done, your bucket should look like this. No problem. We've done it. Let's go ahead and go to the next step. We've done this. We've created our object storage. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start working with the cluster. I want to tell you a few things about the MySQL HeatWave cluster. The way the MySQL HeatWave cluster works, really quick. The way it works is all of the data, when we're talking about the database, is kept inside MySQL, which we call InnoDB. We keep it. And what happens is remember how I click that little button and says, I want to be able to do HeatWave? Well, then you get this plugin. And this plugin's job is to manage how data is handled between InnoDB and the HeatWave cluster. So let's say someone wants to do a query, and this is a very easy, fast query. What the plugin says is, okay, yes, this person has HeatWave, everything they need, they've loaded their data, everything is good. Is it a fast query? It's a fast query. It lets it run here, OLTP query. If it's a long query, like it's doing 5 tables with group by, sum, and so on, says, let the cluster do it, and then we send it back to the application. Now, you say, yeah, but you said that everything you do gets updated. The cluster can show you data that is synchronized. It's true. When you make a data update, what we do is we replicate this data to the cluster instantly. That's why our data is always synchronized. So let's go ahead and set up our HeatWave cluster. First thing we're going to do, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to log into our SSH compute instance, and we're going to go into MySQL shell, and we're going to load our data. I think my data is already loaded, and let's see. If it's not, we'll do it. Okay. So again, we go to restore, and we go back to here. I'm already inside the console. So what I want to do, though, is I want to go to MySQL shell. Good thing I have it in my notepad. All I have to do is cut and paste. Password. I'm in. Now that I'm in, what do I want to do? I want to load my data. That's it. Just say load my data. What I mean is I'm going to take the data that's in the InnoDB, MySQL instance, and I'm going to put some of it inside the cluster. In my case, I'm putting all of it in there. It takes a little while. It's taking like, give it about 15 seconds. Should be back. Let me see. The next thing, let's see what we have to do afterwards. So see, my data was in there. What we're going to do is we're going to review what comes back. When it comes back, we're going to go ahead and make sure that all the data is loaded. After that happens, then what we are going to do is we're going to start doing stuff. We're going to start comparing, performance. Okay, it's back. So let's take a look. Look at all the information. By the way, this is the autopilot. It's providing me all this information. It says, hey, you told me to load your data. Well, here's what I did. I did some initialization. Yes, I have data, and I've loaded them, and I have my customer orders data. I've loaded that too. After I've done that, everything is there. And guess what? I think it added one more table for me, but I'll take care of it. So we have everything loaded. Now, what we want to do is we want to make sure that our data is there. So this table will tell us everything that is loaded in the cluster. So let's do a quick select. There, I have customer orders, I have products, I have a bunch of them, and I have 6. And I think earlier it complained, it says that 3 of my tables we were not able to load them. That's because they're views. We do not load views into the cluster, and that's why. Not a problem. So now let's go ahead and do task 2. We're already inside the compute instance. We are going now. We're going to change the database that we're using, and we're going to use MySQL customer orders. See, whenever you change your database, it tells you which, schema, it tells you which schema you're using. So you don't have to, all you have to do is look, and you'll know where you are. So you don't have to keep saying use MySQL customer orders. So now, here's the deal. Whenever you're doing a query that requires HeatWave, one of the things you can do is to make sure that all of the tables, all of the data you need is already loaded inside the HeatWave cluster. You use the explain command. Yeah, I'm going to put it in. And if this doesn't come back, using secondary engine rapid, that's our nickname for HeatWave cluster. It's telling me everything I need to run this query is there. So go ahead and run the query. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this query that shows you HeatWave running, how the data behave with HeatWave running. So let me go ahead and grab that query. Let's see if it goes fast. 0.409 seconds. Okay, you say, yeah, proceed. How does it work without HeatWave? Well, I'm going to show you. This is with HeatWave. Remember, 0.4 second or 4009 second. What we're going to do is we're going to turn off HeatWave. Remember, this is not something you should do. I'm just showing you what happens when HeatWave is not being used. Turn it off, and then I'm going to go ahead and run the same statement again. This is taking a while, isn't it? Let me see. What could we do while we wait? Well, you know, it's 12:58. So that means I have about 30 minutes. I'm going to be rushing through the next steps. Okay, so brace yourself. Okay, look at this. It took 10 seconds. Now, do you believe me? MySQL HeatWave is fast when it comes to doing very long queries, and I have just proved it. But you know what? Before we go any further, let's put it back. We want to keep using MySQL HeatWave, so let's put it back, or we're going to have some serious problem later on in our processes. Okay, there's so many other things you could be doing. Just look at the workshop. You can do more comparison. You can use other tools to do your comparison. But for today, this is enough of a comparison. You have to trust me. That's it. Now, let's do the next step. Okay. We are going to load our CSV file into Lakehouse. So we've used HeatWave. We show you how fast it works. And we have data in our bucket waiting to be used. So now we're going to take those CSV files and we are going to put them inside Lakehouse. After that, we're going to go ahead and do the pocket. And after that, we're going to look at our application. And then maybe you can go ahead and play with the data. Let's hope I leave you at least 10 minutes to get it done. Okay, let's go ahead. Now we have done lab 6. We've done lab 5. Now it's lab 6. And to do lab 6, the first thing you have to do is you got to create your PAR link. Again, the PAR link is a place, it tells you where your data is. And what we're going to do is we're interested in loading the first file. So let's go ahead. We're going to minimize this guy. And we're going to go into storage. And we're going to go into the bucket and Lakehouse files. And what we're going to do is it's right here. Open it. It's the first one. So we're going to click again and create PAR. That's it. And then click on it. Copy. And get your little notepad file and save it because you're going to need it later on. There it is. All right. Close. And the next thing we're going to do is we've done that. We've created it. Now we're going to go ahead and connect to our MySQL, which we already did. And we know we're using MySQL customer orders. I'm going to show you how. First thing we're going to do, we're going to check to see which tables are loaded in that MySQL orders. So we're going to go ahead and go back here, go back to CI Cloud. Okay. We are using MySQL customers, so we can just show tables. These are the tables we have. Delivery orders is not supposed to be here because I'm going to delete them. because that's the one we're moving in there. Yeah, I did it when I was getting ready for you guys, when I was practicing. Okay, let's take a look again. Oh, it would help if I knew how to spell, wouldn't it? Okay. Okay, it's gone. We should tables again. Good. So now these are the only tables. We should only have 9 tables, not 10 tables. Perfect. Now we're going to build delivery orders, and we're going to do what's needed to get delivery orders ready for us to do our work. First thing we're going to do is we're going to set it up. I'm going to say autopilot. What we're doing here, this is a little bit complicated, but what we're doing is we're showing you how to let autopilot load your file. You have 2 ways. You can do it manually or use autopilot. We're going to do it automatically. So the first thing you do, you got to tell autopilot a couple of things. I'm using the orders table. Perfect. Then the next thing I'm going to tell it is, okay, I'm going to define my file to you. Again, you need your little notepad. Come in here, you have your notepad, and what you're going to do is, remember that here our link you save, you're going to take it, you're going to replace it with this guy here. Replace it. Replace. Good. Now it's all set. We've described our file. Back in here. Good. Now, after we've described our file, what we need to do is we need to tell it more stuff. We need to tell it how we want it to execute our load. I'm going to say, don't do the load for me. It's a dry run. Just give me the commands that I need to, and I'll do it myself. And what it's going to do is, so I'm going to go ahead and put it in. Say, yeah, dry run. Don't do it. Good. It says, okay, I have your dry run. It said, you did. Well, go ahead. Execute yourself right now. I've given you all my instruction. Now go ahead and execute. Tell me what you're doing. It's a little while. While it's doing that, let's go. Okay, it's back. It came back. It says, okay, we initialize. It says, hey, your bucket has delivery orders in there. And in your delivery orders, this is your file. We didn't create it. You said, don't create it. Just tell me. Okay, so we did. And there are 7 columns. It tells you all the information you need to know. You can read it on your own. And then you have to do this. That piece is also in the code, but you just copy this and you say, okay, go ahead and generate the file. This is the stuff that I need. What will happen is, I want you to see something. This version of Lakehouse. What we did was, we went into the database, the bucket. We saw your CSV file. There was no title. It was just the CSV file. So what it did though, it identified all of the structure of your file. Told you it was an int, whether it was varchar, whatever, it did all that. Here's the problem though. It doesn't know your file, your title. So you have to create your own title. Listen, in this workshop, we made it possible for you to do that. You'll notice it's right here. Oh, where is it? What you're going to do, we made it real easy for you. You just have to replace them. I already have one that's already done. So let me go ahead and use it so we could save some time. But you on your own, you have to do it yourself. So let me grab mine from what I was doing earlier. And I'm going to replace it. And I can't just use it like that because this was a different PRR link. So what I'm going to do is I am going to use the PRR link that I saved earlier. If I had used this, I wouldn't have to change the PRR link because it gave me the PRR link. In this case, I have to. All I have to do is come in here and replace it. You see here, up to here, I delete and I paste. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and run it. Says everything's okay. Let's see if everything is really okay. To see if it said to me, hey, I created your table. To make sure that it created my table, let's go take a quick peek. I'm going to say, describe that table. Yep, it created my table. So I'm very happy. So the next thing I want to do is I want to load my table. It gave me that command, but I have it here in the lab. So I'm going to use the same. It's the same command. Woohoo! It's going. It's going. It's loading a lot of data. After it's done loading the data, what it's going to do is we're going to say, okay, yeah, use MySQL customer. We don't have to do that because we already know that we're using MySQL customers. Then, so what we're going to do is we're going to count. We're going to see how much data we've loaded. Remember, we only loaded one file. We need to load the rest of the data. Let's quickly do that. Okay, to load the rest of the data, this version of, and you know what, you can also join. Let me quickly show you how, if you join right away, you can easily join the Lakehouse table with the database table. Now, quickly, let me show you. We need to load the other two files. In other words, there are 3 more files we need to load. For now, what we have to do is unload this table. And then we're going to tell him, you know what, instead of loading one file at a time, load all 3 of them. So let's go ahead. We're going to unload. And then we're going to go ahead and get a new link. Remember, because we want to get all of them. So to get that new link, you just go again to the storage. And this time, you click on orders. Create your PR link and say, hey, I want you to read through all of them. So enable object listing. So you click create, you grab your link, and you could test to make sure that the link works. See, it lists all of my files. So now I'm going to go back to my little notepad. Yeah, very important. I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to do the next statement. It's going to tell me what to do. Let's see what that statement says. It says you're going to use alter table this time because your table already exists. All you have to do is load it. So I'm going to copy and I'm going to go up here. I'm going to change my PR URL. Okay. And then I'm going to go in here and execute it. Again, go back to OCI and paste. That was fast. Let's do the next step. Gonna load it. Gonna load the data. Takes a little while. Remember, it's doing a lot of data. Wait till I show you. When we do the select, you're gonna go, wow, that's a lot of data. Here, this is the select count. It's gonna come back. We're almost done. Just hang in there. Okay, it's done. See, look at how many records it loaded for you. So now, object bucket, you can do queries on your object bucket. We're not done yet. We got to do the last file. To do the last file, we're doing it a little bit differently. First of all, we're going to go here. It's the pocket file. This one, gonna go ahead and grab the link, the PR link. Always grab your link. And I'm gonna go ahead and do it. And then we're gonna save the link in our little notepad. So storage, buckets, Lakehouse. Here, we're not doing orders. We're just interested in this one. So you see, you have all these. You're not interested in them. You just want to do the pocket file. Create, pre-authenticate. Okay. And that's it. You don't have to do anything else. Just copy it. Go here. Save it. Okay, let's see what we have to do next. Oh, don't forget to close this. Okay. Now we've done it. We've done all these. We're good. We are in MySQL customer. So now first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna create the pocket file. This one, we're not letting autopilot do it for us. We're doing it ourselves. Okay, go back to your notepad. Notepad is your friend. Always use notepad. Okay, so you come in here, get your link. And again, you replace your par link. We're gonna go ahead and create this file. Oh, wait, I think I made a mistake. Let's see what I did wrong. Take a look at what I'm supposed to do. First, I went in. I have MySQL customer orders. I have my create table. And I went into my notepad. Clear it out to make sure I did it right. And here's my perfect. I must have made a mistake somehow. I don't remember. I wasn't paying. Let's see. Now we did this. Now let's see if the table really does exist. It created it, but it didn't load any data. Yes. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and load the data. Takes a little while. Let's see what we have to do after the data is loaded. After the data is loaded, we're going to go ahead and count to see how much data we've loaded. So let's do that. It's a small table, but we're talking vendors. It's a small company. Maybe their vendors will grow. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is we have our MySQL customer order database that has everything that the e-commerce company has been using to do their e-commerce. Then we took those two files, the vendor files, because what happened is when they do their e-commerce, when somebody orders, it goes on to the delivery department. The delivery department uses a third-party software which generates those two files for us. And so what we wanted to know, so we were completely in the dark what was going on. So what we wanted to know is what is going on once the customer make their orders. So now that we have those tables, we have the delivery orders and the delivery vendor. Let's do some work with it here. What I'm going to do is I'm creating a query where I am joining all the orders, and I'm also joining two Lakehouse tables, and I want them to return some data for me here. Okay, this is the data that it returned. Let me see if I could go up some, see all of it. It's a lot of data. Okay, I can't see it. I tell you what, let's go ahead and use Workbench. Yeah, one of these days I'll show you how to use Workbench with this. But let me show you what it looks like in Woodbridge. See, this is the data. Look at this. It gives you the product. It's just doing an aggregate. And what it looks like every time somebody orders something, it goes straight to the delivery people and they let the vendors deliver it. Now, while we're looking at these people, they also have stores near them where they can actually pick up their data. So let's go ahead and make our customer happy. They don't have to pay extra to have the order delivered to their house and wait a couple of days. They can just go to their nearest store and pick it up. So what we've done is we've added one feature. The current e-commerce file does not give you that feature, so we've added one feature. And I'm going to show you those features. What we're going to do is, let's see, we're totally out of time. So what we're going to do is just quickly look at Lab 8. In Lab 8, what Lab 8 does is, let me just talk you through the process. It takes a PHP file. This is my PHP, a PHP. It shows you how to create your PHP Connect. As a developer, after you've done all this work, you want to be able to connect to the database and do some more work with it. And what we've done is in task 1, we've shown you how to do it. You create your config. After you create your config, what you have to make sure is you change your database ID. After you do that, then you create a little test program. That's how we learn. And we use a config and then we run it. Here, once you've done that, you created your config and your stuff works. Let me show you. I'm going to go back to my OCI. Ooh, go all the way down. And we're going to get out because this is the day we created the config, we created the DB test. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at how they're running. So you will know this thing works. I don't have to panic just because it's not working for me. Let me look at Persidy's video so I can try it out. Here, I have it here. Let's see. Let me get the IP address. Okay, so now what we called it was config.sys. Oh, config.php. Yeah, see, it says it connected properly. And then the next one that we had was the db test.php. That's the one that's the easy test that we do. Yeah, see? Then the next step you do is you're gonna use Google Chart to write some code, easy code, to do some reporting and to display a chart. And here is the code that you're gonna, is what your code will look like once you're done. All we're trying to do is tell you HeatWave works with everybody. If you Google or whatever, we don't have a problem. We'll work with you. Look at this. This is code you wrote. You're gonna write yourself. See, it's giving you a little chart, third party, or you can do a report. And this report is using Lakehouse and database files. That's what I wanted to show you. Now for the final, and then we're done. Well, maybe I still want to show you my Apex. But for this one, here's the application that we have improved. This is the e-commerce application that is being used by Eureka. You log in. Look, first thing it does is this PLF person connected, and it tells it a whole story about how they've been spending money on their e-commerce system. For example, here on April, this is how much they spent. They've been busy. I guess they buy stuff and they resell it. And here, these are the items, and it varies the amount of items they buy during the month. Now, you can actually see it as a report, but notice, because it's running on HeatWave, you see how fast everything is? Let's go ahead and do some shopping. Here, we have a few things. Let's just pick two of them. So shopping, okay. We bought a couple of stuff. All right, here, instead of sending these things to my house, which you can pick, I live in Tokyo. So I'm gonna go by the Tokyo store and pick it up. There, that is our proof of concept. We're done. I just wanna show you one more thing and then we can stop. I wanna show you the Apex application, and we also have an Oracle Analytic Cloud. Let's see. Okay, I have 8 minutes. I'm going to show you what you can do with the Oracle Analytic Cloud. That's the one where you can give your business analyst, say, the data is there. You can do all of your analyzing you want. Like, for example, we use OAC to create this heat map. That was when I was looking at it, that's when I got, wait a minute, this is interesting. There are all these stores everywhere, and most of the data, it's going to the online store. So that got me thinking. It got me and Runit thinking, because we were working on it. By the way, Runit is the Oracle Analytic Cloud expert. And here's another chart that he created. Look at this. This one tells you sales by product name, and this one tells you how the delivery is going. So that's with Oracle Analytic Cloud. Good. We can do that. Remember, once you have your data, you can give Oracle Analytic Cloud to your business people so they can do their analysis. Now, let's quickly take a look at Apex. Go to develop. Oh, I wish I had more time. Then I could show you all the other stuff you could do while you're sitting in the Oracle Cloud infrastructure. Here, this is my Apex. I'm going to launch it. And I'm just going to quickly show you what I did. And the thing is, you cannot do Apex with MySQL unless you are in HeatWave. Remember that. There. This is the environment. And what I did was I created a program for us. And it took like 2 minutes. I am not joking. And here is a little chart. I just did some drag and drop and say share. By the way, it's working with a lot of data. So give it a few minutes. This is my chart. This is my store orders. Notice they do a lot of online shopping. I mean, when they're doing it, in other words, if it goes to online, that means, there is no matching store. However, they do quite a bit of shopping from where they could have picked up their orders from Mexico City or Sierras Lagos or Chicago, so on. That is it. So now I'm passing everything over to Tara.
Thank you.
Stop sharing.
Thank you, thank you. So just a few extra call outs here. If you enjoyed this event, we do have more upcoming events on our developer events page here. And we'd love to hear any feedback that you have from us on today's session or what you'd like to see from us at future events. Thank you everyone again so much for joining us here today. We will hop on over to the Slack if you're doing the lab on your own now, and be there to answer any questions. So thank you again, and we hope to see you at the next one.